Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Divorcee Insight. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by Nicola Withycombe, who is the founder of Kids Come First, which is an organisation that helps separated parents. Nicola, thank you so much for joining me today and for giving up your time.
Lovely to see you again, Neil. Thanks for inviting me on Divorcee.
No problem at all. It's absolutely great to have you as part of Divorcee and providing, I suppose, an alternative vision for people who are going through a divorce. I mentioned, obviously, you being the founder of Kids Come First. I have the great benefit of already knowing how it is you help people, but I thought it might be best if you explained the concept of Kids Come First and what it is they aim to achieve.
Sure. The concept or the inspiration, I suppose you might say, about founding Kids Come First came really from a few different sources. I suppose the main ones were really just identifying the high number of cases in the family courts, which continues to be the issue, and these days, of course, even more of a backlog. But also very centralized around the identifying that there's a lack of support out there for separating parents, and bearing in mind that this was about 10 years ago. There were even less support structures than there are now. It's good that there are so many more people doing work within the divorce and separation arena. I think we were also extremely motivated to highlight the experience of children whose parents are going through separation, and also the importance of positive co-parenting. So we put together a very unique training program, which we now deliver in bespoke training workshops for parents. As far as the aims, I suppose, we seek to achieve, they are quite specific. They're most importantly about delivering as much early intervention for separating parents as we can. Also, obviously, to divert as many parents away from the family courts, because there is a strategy, I think, that you can employ that ensures that you don't necessarily end up there. We want to look at the needs and the rights of children, and I think that's also important to highlight parental responsibility in the eyes of the law, about what those rights are for children. I find myself a lot signposting to other collaborative resources, which is how I guide parents through a better way to separate and divorce, by giving them lots of practical skills and tips, almost a bespoke sort of toolkit for what's needed at the stage that they're at, the ages of their children, that sort of thing. And I think lastly, one of our main aims is also to work towards creating a positive change for normalizing the divorce process, given the high number of separations that happen, on behalf of children, again, in that sense. So a lot of the kind of strategies that we use are empowering separated parents, helping them build emotional intelligence or resilience, by giving them an understanding of the emotional processes they go through, which of course is a very stressful process for everyone. We help them identify the responses and behaviors of their children, so that they can help support their children, which is incredibly important. We also even help them learn how to resolve and avoid going into conflict. Again, a very important point, because that is conflict is the single biggest impact on children from their parents' separation. And we encourage them to adopt a sort of a methodical and strategic approach towards the whole business of divorce, I suppose. By putting that focus squarely on children, we create a lot better co-parenting relationships, by driving that collaborative process, I guess.
Yes, yeah. There's so much in that I agree with and wholeheartedly subscribe to, but there's so much of that that people are fundamentally unaware of, and as you say, it's the extra support service that you offer. Many people think there's a binary choice between you either agree with each other or you go to court. They don't understand there are these other levels of services available as well, and alternative forms of resolving a dispute. How I suppose it might help as well to explain how Kids Come First helps parents, and what they can expect when they reach out to you.
Sure. I mean, because I work in a very bespoke, customized way, I offer mostly in the first instance, I offer solo workshops to parents. Sometimes I only meet one parent, but wherever it's possible, I obviously want to create a foundation of training and guidance. So I usually start with solo workshops for parents so they can focus on their own parenting and controlling what they can control. Um, I offer at all times very impartial and neutral guidance on what's in their children's interests, making it very clear that I'm not there to represent either parent's agenda, and so working in a very even-handed way. I think part of the sort of Kids Come First Child Focus Forum is about creating this safe and confidential space for parents to come in and discuss their concerns, and be very transparent, I think, about what's happened in their relationships, etc. And they discuss their concerns about their co-parenting situation, which obviously is sometimes at a point for some parents where they may have been separated for a long, long time, but they have identified their children struggling in some specific way. A lot of that comes down to communication, which of course we can't have any good relationships without a good level of communication. So I'm there to help and guide with that sort of co-parenting, communication, information sharing, all of those things that are really important on behalf of their children.
And also,
I give also,
I
sorry?
was going to say, Nicola, also, I imagine retaining focus as well is key, because in the whirlwind of divorce emotions, people can lose focus and lose perspective and sight of what they're trying to achieve.
Um, Pretty much a lot of the time it's clear that the focus often gets diverted in legal process, in financial settlements, etc. That the thinking can get a little bit fogged. Parents often come and see me sort of in conjunction with working out their finances, things like that, to really maintain that focus on their children being the most valuable asset that they have. I think it's important also for me to give a very clear understanding of the family court process, which I obviously know about, and certain bits of legal information, not advice, but legal information. And of course, the benefits of mediation, so that there's a very clear understanding of why you don't want to go into the family court process, and you know, expend lots of time, money, and energy on a process that generally, you know, is not designed to be family friendly. And in some cases only escalates conflict. I think most family court judges, you know, these days are quite happy to warn parents about the dangers of escalating the conflict in there.
Yeah,
Where possible, when I'm going into joint sessions, yes, it's a little bit like family mediation. The opportunity is there for parents to open up their dialogue with the other parent if they choose to engage, and to look at the benefits of working on parenting plans. Because I think one of the things I also see sometimes is that parents kind of bump along for a while after their separation with some ad hoc arrangements, which only last for a certain amount of time until there's some kind of, you know, speed bump in the road or something. And then they need something that's much more structured. And their children certainly need things that are much more structured. So I think opening up dialogue and working on the idea of how do we reach our own agreements is a very, you know, valuable process too.
Yeah. So within all that, you've definitely highlighted a number of benefits and positives. But I wanted to ask you actually, what would you say are the specific benefits and advantages of using Kids Come First?
I think the ability to understand how important it is to support yourself as a parent in order to support and nurture your children. You know, we're people and we're parents in sort of two separate entities almost, but it's pulling all those things together in looking at the emotional experiences of children that very often help parents. They divert their own personal energies, shall we say, that they're giving to conflicts, etc., in the right way in looking at what's best for their children. I'd say the other benefits are having as much information as possible in what's available out there in sort of collaborative professionals. And of course, I love to signpost down that pathway because that's part and parcel of what I'm here to drive, that process. Way less cost in terms of stress, time, because there's so many lengthy delays in process, legal and family courts. way less emotional energy, I think, if you understand how you can adopt this practical approach, and certainly financial expense, because way too many people spending way too much money on their divorces, I think, these days, um, and also unnecessary, avoiding unnecessary adversarial process. Is what it's all about. I don't think that serves anyone well. Certainly doesn't serve parents, doesn't serve children. And I also like to give a sort of ethos, I suppose, that you can maintain a sense of family beyond separation. That it is possible to do that, and
Yeah.
that's what children need.
Yeah, I was going to say the profession will probably shoot me in the foot, but you're absolutely right in terms of cost. There are circumstances where people are spending far too much money on the divorce procedure and resolving those issues, particularly in relation to children as well. What's key to that is an advisor who signposts properly and highlights to people these alternative forms of resolving a dispute. And you being an alternative is brilliant for parents who otherwise could find themselves in a bit more of a hostile and volatile situation.
It's very clear that that's exactly what we're all about, and aiming to, as I say, create the best possible agreements between parents on behalf of their children, which enables everyone to keep that family together beyond separation. Just a different shaped family in a different configuration. We should all be really used to the fact that's kind of a norm process these days, and so needs to be handled extremely well and with a thoughtful process.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to summarize and to conclude, really. Um, Thank you very much for joining us today, Nicola. As always, it's a pleasure to see you and hear from you and get some wonderful insights from you as to the way in which separating parents can have a bit more of a collaborative and constructive way forward to resolving any issues that they have. So thank you for joining and sharing those insights.
It's my pleasure. We all work on behalf of all of those people who need our guidance
Yeah.
wherever we can.
And I know certainly anyone who's watching this who's got any further questions, you'll be more than happy to have a chat with them and help wherever possible. So what I would conclude with is just to say, if anyone does wish to discuss anything further, then by all means get in touch. We've got a contact us section on our website. You have your own website, www.kidscomefirstuk.com, is it, or .co.uk? .com.
.co.uk.
Sorry, .co.uk. So there's the ability to contact you through there as well. But just to say again, thank you so much, Nicola. It's been brilliant.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Neil.